My fellow Albertans, I wish to speak with you about an issue that is deeply personal and sensitive to so many: the journey of children and youth in our province who identify as transgender and who are struggling with gender dysphoria. As you may know, after announcing our government's new policy direction on these issues earlier this year, we engaged in extensive consultations with parents, educators, healthcare professionals, sporting organizations, and members of the transgender community. We are now prepared to introduce the legislation implementing these new policies, and will do so when the legislature is back in session. I want Albertans to know what to expect to see in that proposed legislation. But first, I would like to say a few words to those most affected by it. I know these are complex and often deeply emotional topics. As someone who personally understands the profound impact and challenges these issues can cause children and their families, I want to make it clear that our government is here to support and uplift every child and every family of a child who identifies as transgender or who is struggling with gender dysphoria. And more specifically to those children and youth, I want you to know that you are loved. I care deeply about each of you, and you are valued as much as anyone else in our province and in our communities. I am absolutely committed to ensuring that you receive the support you and your family may need during this critical time of growth and self-discovery. I also want you to know that I and those who serve with me in our government are bringing in these new rules for only one purpose. We believe it's vitally important to preserve the time you have as a youth to gain sufficient amount of knowledge, experience, and perspective so that you can fully understand who you are, who you want to be, and what opportunities you may want to have as an adult before making permanent life-altering decisions related to your body. That is so very important to understand. And anyone who claims that these rules were designed to target or somehow harm you in any way are mistaken. Although questioning or disagreeing with these new policies is any person's democratic right, adults who choose to tell children and youth that these policies were designed to hurt them or marginalize them, that kind of rhetoric is irresponsible and harmful to the young people involved, and it is entirely false. I sincerely hope that we adults can debate the proposed legislation with maturity and compassion, rather than question each other's motives at the expense of the children and youth who will be listening to the debate. I'll now go over some of the specifics to expect in the legislation. Firstly, licensed Alberta doctors will be prohibited from performing gender assignment surgeries on youth under the age of 18 in Alberta. Puberty blockers and hormone therapies for the purpose of gender reassignment for minors under the age of 16 will also be prohibited unless a minor has already commenced their treatment at this time. For 16 and 17-year-olds wishing to proceed with puberty blockers or other hormone therapies for the purpose of gender reassignment, they may do so only if they have parental, psychologist, and doctor approval. In our schools, the proposed legislation will now require parental notification and consent for a teacher or staff member to change a child's name or pronoun and publicly use that new name or pronoun in a classroom setting or school assembly. And to be clear, this does not mean reporting or outing a student for their private conversations with friends or teachers regarding their gender identity. For 16 or 17-year-olds who choose to alter their name or pronoun used in school, they may do so without parental consent, so long as parents are still notified in advance. In those extremely rare circumstances where a teacher feels that a child might be at risk should the parents be notified of a desired name or pronoun change, Alberta Education will provide a protocol to ensure the protection of that child throughout the parental notification process. I am convinced that parents, even those who may disagree with the decision of their child, will still love and care for that child no matter what choices they make. It would be wise for all of us to remember that, rather than questioning the love of parents and their paramount role as the primary caregivers and teachers of their children. In addition, the newly proposed legislation will require parental notification and a parental opt-in requirement for each instance a teacher intends to address issues or subject matter involving gender identity, sexual orientation, or human sexuality. Furthermore, the provision of resource materials or presentations to students related to these subjects in our K-12 schools must be approved by the Ministry of Education to ensure age appropriateness and relevance to school curriculum. And finally, as it pertains to women and girls in competitive sports, proposed legislation will be tabled that prohibits individuals born biologically male from competing against women and girls in competitive sporting competitions. This will apply to all competitive women's and girls' sports in all provincial sporting organizations, as well as in our schools and post-secondary competitive sporting divisions. Obviously, this prohibition will not apply to recreational or co-ed divisions. And our government will support the formation of additional co-ed and recreational divisions so that all athletes have as many opportunities as possible to compete in their sport of choice. In closing, I again sincerely ask that as we discuss and debate this proposed legislation, both before and after it is tabled, that we do all we can to depoliticize the discussion and focus on the well-being of the children and youth most affected by these policies. They each need to know that although adults may strenuously disagree on what policies are in a child's best interest, each of us loves and supports them in becoming the person they want to be regardless, and will be there for them if they ever want to talk or need our support. That commitment and care by all of us for these children and youth should not be questioned by either side of a political debate. Thank you for taking the time to reflect on this important issue. And please feel free to contact any member of our government should you have questions or concerns that you wish to communicate with us.